The East Wing of the White House isn't the only thing Donald Trump's destroying. He's also destroying third-rate reporters.
I want a quick follow-up on that question. Your response to people who say that you haven't been transparent enough about this.
I haven't been transparent?
That some of your critics feel it should
I've shown this to everybody that would listen. Third-rate reporters didn't see it because they didn't look. You're a third-rate reporter, always have been. So third-rate reporters didn't look, but anybody that asked, these pictures have been in newspapers. They've been all over the place, and you know, we're very proud of it. It's gotten great reviews. It's gotten really great reviews. So I think we've been more transparent than anybody's ever been.
Yeah, Donald Trump and transparency, that pretty much goes hand in hand. Donald Trump has been talking about this ballroom for months. He first released the schematics and the drawings and the artist renderings, and he talked about exactly where it was going to be. You may remember there was video footage of President Donald Trump walking along the top of the White House. He was on the roof, and all the reporters ran over and said, "President Donald Trump, what are you doing on the roof?" He goes, "I'm looking at where we're going to put the great big beautiful ballroom." That was months ago. Donald Trump has released all kinds of information. He's been talking about this thing forever. He's been hosting gala dinners. He's been saying how it's going to be paid for. These drawings, these artist renderings have been available to anybody who would search. But now the construction is underway. Everybody all of a sudden has some kind of problem with it. And they're saying that President Donald Trump is destroying the White House without anybody knowing. Clearly, if you know, you know. But also President Donald Trump said, look, these renovations are important. They're necessary. They're modernizing a building. And they are not at all the first time this has happened. The White House has undergone renovations. In fact, the very Oval Office where they're sitting and having this conversation didn't exist in the original White House. It was an addition, as was the West Wing, as was the bowling alley, as was the swimming pool, as was the basketball court. Donald Trump and multiple presidents before him have updated and modernized the White House on a regular basis. And this is just Donald Trump adding a personal and privately funded ballroom to what is already a magnificent structure.
Certain areas are being left. We determined that after really a tremendous amount of study with some of the best architects in the world, we determined that really knocking it down, trying to use a little section. You know, the East Wing was not much. There was not much left from the original. It was over the course of 100 years, it was changed. The columns were removed, and it was a much different building. Then a story was added on in 1948, 1949. There was a story added on, which was not particularly nice. And the building was very, very much changed from what it was originally. It was never thought of as being much. It was a very small building. And rather than allowing that to hurt a very expensive, beautiful building that, frankly, they've been after for years. You have that. I brought these along so people could see, but it's, you know, there's a relative, nobody's actually seen anything quite like it. I think it'll be one of the great ballrooms anywhere in the world. It's about $300 million. It's set to do many, many things, including meetings of foreign leaders, including the honoring of foreign leaders. You can see this. This is a plan. If it's got tables so that you honor a foreign leader, we have a proper space. Right now, we have a space that with tables holds about 79 people.
Yeah, President Donald Trump showing the drawings, showing the schematics, showing the blueprints, things that have been available for public consumption for a very long time. And the interesting thing about this particular ballroom and the fact that it's dominated the news cycle for so long, because let's face it, the news doesn't want to talk about anything of consequence like the government shutdown or peace across the world or any of those other things. So they're harping on, the Harpies are harping on this ballroom construction. But one of the interesting things that they're complaining about is how President Donald Trump privately funded this ballroom. Didn't cost the taxpayers a thing. He is out of pocket for it. He brought in some of his rich friends to be out of pocket for it. There's so many investors in this ballroom who've put down hundreds of millions of dollars to make it a reality, turn it into something incredible, bring Donald Trump's vision to glory. And now they're crying and screaming and yelling about corruption. No one is crying and yelling and screaming louder, by the way, than Hakeem Jeffries. Hakeem Jeffries, and I don't typically play clips that aren't directly from the White House, but this one is special because, Well, Hakeem Jeffries is special. This guy, I don't know that there's ever been a single person who has hated President Donald Trump more than the minority leader in the House of Representatives, Hakeem Jeffries.
Donald Trump is once again preparing to fly out of the country. The East Wing of the White House is being demolished so that Donald Trump can construct a ballroom where he will be celebrated like a king. And at the same time, Trump is trying to rob taxpayers of $230 million to continue to line his pockets. And yet Republicans have zero interest, none, in addressing the healthcare crisis that they've created is devastating people all across the country.
Now, many of those things seem like they're factually accurate, but the way they were described by Hakeem Jeffries, they are not at all the way they, the destruction of the East Wing of the White House is a renovation. It's not it's not like he's just knocking it down and he's going to leave it there in a pile of rubble like most blue cities are. It's not going to look like San Francisco or LA or Chicago. It's going to look, well, like a monument to greatness in Washington, D.C. He's not building it for himself because President Donald Trump will be out of office probably a few months after the construction of this ballroom is completed. It's going to take a couple of years to fully finish this ballroom up to spec. And Donald Trump may have 1 year left. So it's clearly not for him. It's for future generations and leaders to come to the White House and be celebrated in the way that they should be. And as far as the $230 million that Donald Trump is trying to steal, he's settling with the DOJ because the DOJ attacked him and forced him to spend at least double that, almost double that, just to stay out of jail on trumped up, bogus, lying charges that Jack Smith and Joe Biden and Merrick Garland brought against him to try to keep him out of the presidential election. So all of those are just, it's just hyperbole on Hakeem Jeffries' part. Oh, and as far as the flying out of the country, yeah, he's going on a diplomatic mission to Asia, which is not, it's part of his job is to fly in and out of the country. As part of his job is to go and meet with world leaders. He's just doing his job, and Hakeem Jeffries is mad all about that. One of the other things that President Donald Trump is supposed to do is keep America safe. And wouldn't you know it, the Democrats are mad about that too. All of the drugs that are flowing into the country through these narco-terrorist speedboats, the speedboats continue to get blown out of the water by the United States of America and the fine fighting men and women of the U.S. Coast Guard and Navy, et cetera. And the media and the left, they are so angry about it.
This is a national security problem. They killed 300,000 people last year, these drugs coming in. They killed 300,000 Americans last year, and that gives you legal authority. We have a national security, really, I will say this, when you look at the people we're dealing with, and we know them, we know the people coming in, we know the boats, we know everything else, we're allowed to do it. It's in international waters. If we don't do it, we're going to lose hundreds of thousands of people. Now, they'll be coming in by land a little bit more because they're not coming in by boat anymore. There are no boats in the water. There are no more boats. We know the boat almost immediately. It's pretty unusual when you see somebody with a fishing rod and 5 engines on the back of the boat. You don't need that to go fishing. Wait. And we will hit them very hard when they come in by land. And they haven't experienced that yet, but now we're totally prepared to do that.
President Donald Trump said, look, these boats, they're not fishing boats. These are drug boats. They're trying to get the drugs from Venezuela and Colombia and the South American countries to Miami and Texas and everywhere else as quickly as possible. That's why they have those huge motors. That's why they're going so fast. But they're not going so fast that they can't outrun a torpedo or a missile or whatever it is they're shooting at these things in waters. And as much as the press tries to tell Donald Trump and his team that this is a bad thing, Marco Rubio said this is not a bad thing at all. These boats are holding terrorists and drugs that are headed to the United States. They're in international waters. I don't know. What's your problem, bub?
Yeah, well, I mean, the question is, bottom line, these are drug boats. If people want to stop seeing drug boats blow up, stop sending drugs to the United States.
But does it matter if it's in the United States?
Well, these are all in international waters. The boat.
Do a strike in the United States, or if
well, that's a different matter. Now you're talking about a law enforcement matter. In this particular case, there are people traveling on international waters headed towards the United States with hostilities in mind, which includes flooding our country with dangerous, deadly drugs, and they're going to be stopped. And that's what's happening. And In the case last week, you saw there was a submarine. It was a submarine. It was a submersible. That's a drug boat all the way through. We know what these boats are. The president just said it. We track them from the very beginning. We know who's on them, who they are, where they're coming from, what they have on them. If you're running drug boats, you're in grave danger.
I mean, it's definitely seems like a no-brainer. I don't know why people are so upset about it. You've got drug boats headed to the United States of America carrying tons of fentanyl that are going to kill 30,000 people. You've got narco-terrorists who are cartel members and killers and thugs on these boats. The boats are fully equipped to get to the United States quickly. They're stripped down of anything. If you see these boats, there's really nothing but a hull full of drugs. And they're tracking them from the beginning. They know who's on these boats. They know the cargo that's on the boats, and they know the destination that the boats are headed to. So rather than allow the drugs to come to the United States with the cartel member, drug member, gang member, thug killers, they're just taking them out in the water, in international waters, which seems like no one would have a problem with it except for the narco-terrorists. And of course, the Democrats who love narco-terrorists, who love drug dealers, and who love criminals, but hate the American people. And that's why they continue to keep the government shut down as well. President Donald Trump was asked about that after Catherine Clark made those horrible statements about how the Democrats know people are suffering, but their suffering is the Democrats' only form of leverage. The shutdown continues, and Donald Trump is just beside himself.
Well, I think it's a shame that it's shut down because we have the greatest economy, as you were saying before. We have the greatest economy in the world right now, by far, the United States. We have almost 18, now it was 17, now it's $18 trillion being poured into our country, and it's no time for shutdowns. I don't think it's affecting what we're doing, but it's too bad for a lot of people. We have a lot of good people that aren't working right now that should be, and it's because the Democrats want to try and renegotiate a deal that they had negotiated. They want $1.5 trillion given to illegal immigrants who came into the country, and it's going to hurt the health care of citizens of our country that have been paying into it, that have been working hard for it, that really deserve it. So we're never going to do that. It's not going to happen. And I will tell you, there are a lot of good Democrats that really want to make a deal. And I think all we need is 5 Democrats because we have a great support on the Republican side. So I think we need 5 Democrats, and there are a lot of them that want to make a deal. So I think at some point, common sense will prevail.
Yeah, hopefully common sense will prevail. There's not a lot of it. Common sense is not a very popular resource on the left side of the aisle. They are more about anger and ridiculousness and stupidity and ignorance and temper tantrums. That's pretty much how they act. And that's why the government is shut down, because they didn't get their way in the election. They didn't get their way in the big, beautiful bill. And now they're trying to force Donald Trump and the Republicans to give them their way by causing Americans to suffer. And they know it, and they're saying it out loud. And it's just seems like a losing proposition. DNI, Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, a former Democrat, was on, I believe, with Jesse Waters, and she alluded to the insanity going on the left.
Jesse reminds me of the reason why I and so many others have left the Democrat Party. When you look at this party that is more interested in protecting criminals, cartel members, gangs, those who are causing incredible harm, ravaging our communities across the country, than they are actually standing up for the victims. You see a party that in many cases celebrated the assassination of Charlie Kirk. You see a party now that is essentially putting the lives of our law enforcement and their families at great risk. This is not the values of our country. This is not the values of the First Amendment and peaceful protest. This is a party that's undermining the very foundation of our country and putting the American people at risk, which is why President Trump, throughout his entire campaign, he promised the American people, I will make America safe again. I will secure our borders, and I will go after these cartels and gangs who are terrorizing the American people, raping young girls, causing incredible harm. And that's exactly what he's doing. I think the thing that's interesting to point out here, Jesse, is as you look at these law enforcement officers who are working for ICE, ICE's recruitment numbers have skyrocketed since President Trump took office, even in the face of these kinds of threats coming from some very powerful Democrat politicians across the country. Why is that? Because they are signing up to serve and protect the American people.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself, so I won't even try. I'll just leave it there. President Donald Trump and his administration are working every single day to make America better, stronger, safer. They're trying to make America more beautiful. They're trying to build a legacy while the Democrats continue to tear it down and destroy whatever legacy Joe Biden left, which was, I mean, that's not even a legacy. It's not even a legacy at all. Donald Trump is signing peace agreements around the world, and he is keeping Americans safe from crime on the streets, safe from illegal thug gang members, safe from drugs coming in, safe from terrorism, and safe from being deployed to conflicts that we never wanted to be a part of and shouldn't be existing in the first place. That's what he does every single day. And that is something that is ingrained in his character. We know that because we've been studying him for a very long time, talking to him and his family and his administration for a very long time. In fact, I wrote a book called Go Trump Yourself. And if you're interested in the characteristics that make Donald Trump, and that make him so successful, and if you've ever wanted to emulate Donald Trump in your own personal life, and live like Trump in any economy, raise a great family, build a fantastic business. And if you want to read a really entertaining book about President Donald Trump, his campaign, his presidency, his thinking, his thought patterns, his philosophies, and how you can use all of them to make your new golden age a reality, go to gotrumpyourself.com. GoTrumpYourself.com. We have a digital downloadable bundle. You can get the ebook and the audiobook immediately. Start reading it today. You can listen to me read it to you on your way to work if you like. Go TrumpYourself.com. Get the book today and Trump yourself tomorrow.